Great to be here. Great to be here. We've been planning this the whole year. Have any of you got a little handout here? If you have these notes, the deacons are going to hand it out. If you don't have one, put your hand up. It's just kind of notes to keep you on track with what I'm talking about. And there's a little handout that's also advertising our Revelation of Hope and Healing. And the topic this morning is, maybe you can see it on the screen there, is Bible prophecy medicine? So I think you can see from that title that I'm interested in healing. And I believe Jesus was a healer, wasn't he? He did more healing than he did teaching and preaching. And healing is the message of the Bible. Healing is the message of God's church, his people. I think of Martin Luther, who said, "I have such a very busy day that I cannot afford not to spend the first 3 hours in prayer." Did you hear what I said? Do you have a busy day? Do you have a busy week ahead of you? Get fed, okay? Spend some time with God. And I want to encourage you to come out to these meetings because it may sound similar, but you're going to find something you've never heard before. I guarantee you it will feed your soul. Pray about it. Ask the Lord to guide you. Also, I heard someone say that we should teach our children prophecy. Was that Jonathan? Telling the children's story, right? Do you believe we should teach our children prophecy? So what I'm teaching the adults in the adult meetings, my wife will be teaching the children in the children's meetings. So bring your children. And you don't have to teach them prophecy. We'll do it for you, okay? So come along each evening, and it's not on Tuesday night and it's not on Thursday night. Everything else, we're there, okay? So it's Sunday, Monday, not Tuesday, Wednesday, yes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You get the picture, right? Okay? So that's what we're doing. If you have a pen, you can kind of fill in the blanks there. So here's the question: is Bible prophecy medicine? So my first question for you to think about is, what is medicine? Okay? Think about that. I'm not going to ask you to give me an answer right now, but I want you to think about it. I'm going to ask you for an answer later. So I'm going to start with this question: what causes disease? What causes disease? Can you tell me what causes disease? What's that? Say that out loud. Go ahead. Toxins, yes. Anyone else? Stress causes disease. Anyone else? What causes disease? Inflammation causes disease. I agree with that. Anyone else? Breaking the Lord's the rules of health, yes, okay? And are the rules of health connected with the Ten Commandments in any way? In fact, I can show you that this week, that there is a connection. Anyone else? What's that? Genetics, okay. So I'm going to put some things on the board. You might question this. Fear causes disease. Depression causes disease. Anger causes disease. What's that word? You want to put that word and underline it and maybe write it on the line there. Bitterness causes disease. Do you agree with me? Okay. Guilt causes disease. Lack of trust causes disease. And humanity on its own is not capable of dealing with these issues. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. So here's another word: dysfunctional. So I was born a blue baby into a home of angry words. My dad embraced his bottle of booze. My mom was plagued with the demons of depression. And I guess you would say that's not exactly paradise. My childhood was characterized by this word dysfunctional. Now, when we think of that word dysfunctional, We often think of D-I-S, but it's not D-I-S, it's D-Y-S, right? Which means pain. So functioning in pain, it doesn't mean not functioning. It doesn't mean not D-I-S. No, it's functioning in pain. So it's like when you go through the day and you have a pair of shoes on your feet and they're too small for you. And the whole day you're like, I can't wait to get these things off. And finally you get them off and then the pain goes away. You ever have an experience like that? Anyone? Ladies? Gentlemen? Okay, I once bought a pair of hiking boots, and they were rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, and at the end of the day, what did I have? Blisters, there you go. And I felt so much better when I took them off. The problem was that I could not take my life off. I couldn't take my family off. And so I was living in this dysfunction. I wasn't wearing a pair of shoes, but I couldn't escape this prison of pain. And what did it cause to me? It caused incessant sickness. So as a baby, I was born a blue baby, as I said, barely made it alive. I had high fevers, I had headaches, I had coughs, I had colds, I had infectious mononucleosis, I had tonsillitis, I had meningitis. I was in and out of the hospital, almost died so many times. And my parents, of course, couldn't take it anymore. They were constantly fighting with each other. I was the youngest of 4 boys, and so my mother decided she was going to take us away from this hell. And so she put us on a train, and we went from where I was born in Sudbury, Ontario, all the way to a little town called Indian Head, Saskatchewan. She dropped us off at an orphanage there, and that's where I lived from the age of 3 until I was 16. I once went, many years later, to a seminar called Binding the Wounds. And at that seminar, they gave us a little handout to see what kind of emotional nutrients did you have when you were growing up. My emotional nutrients on a scale of 0 to 10 were 0 as I was growing up. So I went 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. At the end of that seminar, I walked out and I saw my wife. And she looked at me and she said, "You're white." She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Just shoot me." She said, "What's the matter?" I said, I'm a hopeless case. I'm like 0 out of 10 on emotional nutrients growing up. Who is going to fix me? I don't know why you even married me. I'm just a hopeless person. The fact is that there was a miracle happening. I had a grandmother who was praying for me, praying for herself, praying and reading the Bible, and she would go to church after church after church. She would take us out of the orphanage, take me specifically, because I was the youngest and I was the least resistant, and so she would take me to these different churches. Churches where there was a little boy on the stage, and he had a little white suit on, and he was walking back and forth, and he had people come up, and he would slap them on the head, and they would fall down, and he'd go, "Healed!" And it's like, whoa, what's going on? And I saw healing happening. And then she would take me to another church where there was a censer and, cloud of smoke, and it was very ritualistic. And we went to different churches, and then one day she told me, "I discovered something. I discovered that the Sabbath is on Saturday." And I was like, "Oh, I like to play hockey on Saturday." That was not a message I wanted to hear, but she showed it to me from the Bible. She showed it to me in the calendar. And when I was in the orphanage, you know what I used to watch on TV? Every Sunday, they would put it on TV just before Walt Disney. It was called It Is Written. And I'd watch that program every Sunday. And I would always be fascinated by the last words. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And that's what I wanted. I was like, what does that mean? I want life. I want health. I'm always sick. And it's crazy that today I actually am the speaker director for It Is Written Canada. I'm like, how did that happen? But God was leading me even as a little kid. And my grandmother praying for me and teaching me the 23rd Psalm and praying for me and teaching me how to pray and, just all of those kinds of things. So slowly, I could see God leading in my life. And then I decided I was going to give my heart to Jesus, and someone gave me a Bible, and they started telling me to read this Bible, and so I started reading this Bible, and I read a chapter a day, and literally that was what changed my life. Just reading the Bible. I just read a chapter a day. And then a friend of mine who came from here, his name was Dean Shipowick, and he said to me, let's go traveling. And we went, I was like, who am I? I'm just like this little orphan kid. How am I going to travel? And he told me how it was possible to make enough money if I worked hard that we could go to England, and there were Adventist schools there. And he was like, why wait until you are a pensioner, and you can travel. Travel now to Adventist schools. And so we went to England, and then we went to South Africa. When I went to South Africa, there was no Dean Shipowick came with me. I came on my own, and I showed up in Somerset West, just got off the train, and Ian Hartley picked me up. And he said to me, is that all you got? All I had was a little suitcase. And he didn't know I was going to be there for 15 years. I didn't know that either. But he made a huge impression on my life. And it was actually Ian who baptized me, and it was Ian who, prayed a dedication prayer over me when I went into the ministry and I was ordained. And so there's just him being here today is huge for me, him and Irma. And so how did I go from dysfunction to functioning and not being in pain all the time? Because I'm not in pain anymore. I mean, my wife and I travel probably about 200,000 kilometers just on planes every year. Last week we were in Kelowna. I can't even tell you. The week before that we were somewhere else in BC, and the week before that we were, I don't know where, somewhere else in BC. And then we were, before that we were in California. But I'm telling you, God leads us from place to place to place to place. And my wife and I, we go running every day. We eat nutritious food. We kind of get out into the fresh air. And God has blessed us with a happy family. I can honestly say to you that I'm way healthier than ever was as a kid. Almost never get sick. And what is it? What is the difference? And I'll tell you what it is. For me, it's this verse. And Krisha read it. For warding off disease, he will keep him or her in perfect what? That's the word you want to write on the line there. Whose mind is stayed on you because he or she trusts in you. So let me ask you this question. If you were to look in the mirror, who would you see staring back at you? Who would you see staring back at you? You would see a person who is shaped by the thoughts of yesterday and the thoughts of the day before that, the day before that, and the day before that. And that's a lot of thoughts, isn't it? That have constructed you. Who you are is the product of your thinking. He will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. So, what you think about today will determine who you are tomorrow. Would you agree with that? So you can change your thoughts. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You can look at your life and people will look at you and they will say, how do you see life differently now after having that? A friend of mine told me that he went to a counselor. He needed to go to a counselor, and he's been going to a counselor for some time. And he said that has been healing for him. And he said to me, he spoke to this counselor and said, one of the greatest influences in my life is Mike Lemon. This guy didn't know, of course, who I was, and he's a Christian counselor. So he told him my story. And after he told him my story, the counselor said, I'm shocked that that person is still alive. after so much trauma. Of course, this guy knows me a little more detail, and he gave a lot more detail than I gave to you this morning. But the thing is, you can go through traumatic circumstances in your past, and God can heal you. Do you believe that? That's huge. God can bring healing to you. The Bible, science, they teach us that what you think about today will determine who you are tomorrow. I love this quote. This is from a book called Help in Daily Living. It's a very small book, which I recommend to everyone I see, and I've given out thousands of copies of this book. And here's one statement that I really love. The only security, say it with me, the only security for any soul is, there you go, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I didn't hear very many people saying it with me. Okay, say it again. Any soul is as a man in his heart, so is he. So, yeah, and it's in Proverbs as well as in that book, and it's quoting from the Bible. So science supports the certainty of this timeless truth. So there are many problems, from addictions to relationship challenges to eating disorders. And, I've been teaching students for years and years, and I've seen a lot of these things. Certain manifestations of depression, anxiety, that are deeply rooted in faulty, negative thinking patterns. And healing these behaviors, this thought pattern, begins with toxic thinking pattern. This is, and we don't think about it. We don't think that this is actually, when you think something, that it's doing something to you. So I want to give you this illustration. So say you were to go outside, and it was, a snowy field, but not today, or it was a grassy field, and the grass was pretty high, and you were to walk back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on that same path for 90 days. What would you get? You'd get a path, okay? So you'll get a track. You'll get something and when you first try to go through that tall grass, it's hard, isn't it? It's like you're pushing it down. It's getting all over your socks. It's getting all over your shoes. The next time it's not as hard. It's not easy, but it's not as hard. The next time it's easier and easier and what? Easier. It gets easier the more you do it. Here's the thing. Think of that track as being the same pathway in your mind when you think a thought. And you repeat that thought. And you keep repeating it, and it goes over and over and over again. I don't know, when I listen to people and I hear conversations, I hear them saying many times, repeating the same things. And sometimes it's things that happened long time ago, and they're repeating them in detail as though they're happening right now, because they are. In their brain, in their thoughts, their feelings, everything. They're experiencing the emotions of that moment. And it's very traumatic in many cases. Sometimes it's a happy thought, and that's a wonderful thing. So I want to ask you this question. Take a moment to think about what you think about. What do you think about repeatedly? When you first wake up in the morning, does your mind drift towards fear? What could go wrong? Do you worry about your children, your finances, the state of the world? What do you think about? Do you wake up and your heart is pounding and you just got a headache and you're worried and you have this ping pong ball of just going back and forth and back and forth? Or when you wake up in the morning, do you have peaceful thoughts? Even when you know that things are bad and complicated and things aren't going the way that you want them to and the world is falling apart, do you find yourself casting your cares on God and experiencing this peace that is far beyond human ability to understand? Do you sense His goodness and His Holy Spirit with you even when things aren't going well? when you have a storm, when you maybe finances, maybe worries about your children, maybe worries about what's going on in the world. What is it that's bothering you, but still you have this peace inside? I love this. So this is from a book called Mind, Character, and Personality. And they told me to click it once and it would work. Okay. There we go. Thank you. So those words are not big enough for you to see, but they are on my screen. So I'll just tell you what it says. It says sickness of the word there is mind. And you probably have it on your sheet. Is that right? Prevails everywhere. 9/10 of all diseases from which men suffer have their foundation here. So where is the foundation of sickness? According to that quote. Where is it? In the mind. So the foundation, 9/10, we don't think of it. We generally don't think that when I think a thought, when I repeat that thought, well, it's invisible. No one sees it. It's not affecting anyone. Yes, it is. It's affecting everyone else who has anything to do with you, even people who don't know you. It's affecting the expression on your face. It's expressing how you work. It's expressing how you live, how you sleep. It is affecting you. So this is big. So here's the question again. I'm going to go to the question. I'm going to ask you to answer the question, what is medicine? What is medicine? Anyone? Tell me what medicine is. What's that? Positive thoughts? I think that is medicine. But give me a definition of medicine. Anyone? Anything that makes you well. What did you say? A remedy. A remedy for what? For your wealth. No, you got an R on this page there, so I gave it away to you, didn't I? Okay, so that's good. I love that. You got cheat notes in front of you. Okay, so medicine is remedy that promotes health and wellness. A remedy. So here's the question. Medicine would include more than pills and injections, yes or no? Yes? Okay. So another question. Would getting a good night's sleep be medicine? Yes. There was kind of a hearty yes on that one. I'm going to talk about someone who's called the healthiest person in the world. You ever heard of that before? He's the healthiest person in the world. I'll introduce you to him later when I'm talking here. But here's the thing. He says that of everything that he has studied, sleep is number one. He said it is the most important of everything that he does. Okay? So, sleep is medicine. Getting a good night's sleep is medicine. What about this one? Is exercise medicine? Yes. So you can put exercise there. What about nutritious plant-based food? Is that medicine? Plant-based food. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little bit of detail. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more. Put them on the screen. Sunshine. Is it medicine? I've seen so many people who go and run after the sun when it becomes cold here in Canada. You ever do that? Do any of you do that? Go off to a place where it's warm and the sun is shining? I don't blame you, okay? Please do so. Get your sunshine. But if you don't, then what should you be taking here in Canada? D3. Okay. So get your D3 because most of us never get enough of it. So is green juice medicine? Okay. If it's good green juice, don't get something, it's good stuff, right? Not a whole lot of sugar in it or anything. Is water medicine? Yes. Healthy water, clean water. What about fresh air? Yes, good for the lungs. Anything that promotes circulation. What about love? Would you say love is medicine? Would you say forgiveness is medicine? I think I put forgiveness on the screen there. And then another one is faith. Is faith medicine? And hope. Could we live without hope? No. And the last one I put on here is joy. Is joy medicine? Yes. You can be joyful. You can change. They did this experiment with people where they just gave them a pencil to hold in their teeth. And by holding a pencil in your teeth, You're smiling. And you know that affects the hormones in your body? And it promotes the growth of glutathione, which is actually good for your immune system. That's incredible. So just walk around like this. And if you can't smile, put a pencil in your teeth, okay? And then you'll feel better. Another one is your posture, by the way. If you hold your hands up or put them behind your head, if you're feeling sick and you do that for 2 minutes, it actually promotes wellness in your body and you feel a lot better. It's incredible how your body and your posture are actually health-inducing. Okay, so peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, self-control, these are all medicine and they all promote health and wellness. Would you agree? Okay, so we've gone way beyond pills and injections. We've gone to something that's holistic and available to all of us pretty much free of charge in many cases. Of course, you do have to buy the nutritious food. But I want to give you this. Here's the big thing. Here's the kicker in all of this. These are all gifts from God. These medicines are not God in themselves. Would you agree with me? I want you to understand how powerful that statement is, because there are some people who believe that this is it. Once I figure all these things out, I don't need God. No. He's the one who gave you all these things. He is not those things. There was, in fact, someone who was a very, very intelligent man by the name of John Harvey Kellogg, who got to the place where he figured out how the body worked and probably was way ahead of his time in many, many cases. He had done over 1,000 invasive surgeries without one fatality. In his time, that was unheard of. He was the most successful doctor of his time, and yet he came to the place where he started to believe that you are God. That these medicines are, he believed in something called, anyone know? Pantheism. So he turned away from accepting that Jesus is our healer to turning to we heal ourselves and that everything around us is God. That we do not believe in. We believe that the Bible tells us that all these are gifts from God and these medicines are not God. So, they are given to us by God. The gifts of health enable us to do good for God and for others. So here's the problem. Whenever we focus on these beautiful gifts apart from the giver, we become arrogant and self-sufficient. Would you agree with that? So we become arrogant and self-sufficient to the point where when Dr. Harvey Kellogg would be operating on a patient, Ellen White said that in vision, she saw that an angel and Christ himself was there guiding his hand as he made the incision. And he said, don't tell anyone that. I don't want anyone else to get the credit. I think something went wrong along the way with Dr. Harvey Kellogg. Don't you think so? Yeah. So, what we have here is something you know very, very well, and it's called New Start. Tell me what they go for. What's number one? Nutrition. There you go. And then exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, and rest. And then trust in God. I think I went too far with that slide. There you go. Okay. Trust in God. So you want to underline those words, nutrition. That's the one that you want to write on the line, rest and trust in God. So let me ask you this question. What is the base? The base of that statement would be trust in God. Would you agree with that? The base of a house. Jesus said, if your house is founded on rock, it's solid. But if it's founded on what? Sand, it's going to fall. And he says, whoever hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like the wise man who built his house on the rock. But the foolish man hears these words. We can all be foolish. We can hear the words of Jesus, but we don't put them into practice. We don't live them. So this isn't just information or inspiration. This is application. This is where we apply it to our lives, and it leads to transformation. So here's what happens. If I were to say, let's put them all together. and get rid of the trust in God, what do we end up having? Instead of new start, we get a new star. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you following that? You become a what? A new star. Can you see how the arrogance comes through? And you become, it's all about me. I've done this. And it's true. It works. It works. You've seen people like this. They go to the gym. And what are they doing? They're taking photos of who? They're taking photos of who? And of, and of, and of, and of, right? You get what I'm saying? They're a new star. And it works. It works. Guaranteed it works. Because that's the way God designed things. He designed them to work that way. But you're missing something. Let me introduce you to someone who's known as the healthiest man on planet Earth. Have you heard of him? His name is Brian Johnson. Brian with a Y. So Brian Johnson, this guy is the most biologically measured person in history, as far as we know. So his ultimate goal is not to die. Okay? In fact, there was a Netflix series on this man, and it was called Do Not Die. So any interview that I've watched with Brian Johnson and they ask him, are you going to die? He says, no, I'm not going to die. So he's almost 50 years old. He looks like his 18-year-old son. Okay? He's a multi-billionaire. Okay? He made his money young, and he was quite successful in making money. He puts into his body and to his health, he spends over $2 million a year. That's completely not, we can't achieve that, most of us. I don't know if anyone in this room. He takes over 100 daily supplements. He has a private chef. He uses machines that optimize and track every single thing in his body. He has over a team of 30 clinicians, doctors, researchers who analyze his organs and his skin and everything to optimize, to tweak his diet, his sleep, his movement, and I think I would call him extreme. Would you say he's extreme? Okay. So Brian is chasing the most optimized lifestyle for his health. I don't think it's exactly realistic because it's beyond my budget. And secondly, I think he's sacrificing to another idol. He's worshiping his body. He likes to look after his body. I like to look after my body. I believe I do so because it's a temple of the Holy Spirit, and I can serve people better, and I can have more energy to serve God better. And I also believe that I am worshiping someone who can guarantee eternal life, unlike Brian. So Brian calls himself a professional rejuvenation athlete. So as an American businessman, he believes he can turn back the clock biologically and that anyone who follows his protocol can do the same. So if you want to follow him online, you can do so. Every single day, all of his vitals are put online and how they change from day to day. He has had a track record of perfect sleep monitoring for over 1,000 days straight. That's pretty good. I mean, I don't think any of us really get 100% on our sleep score, but he does, and that's pretty good. So this is Brian before and after. This is Brian on the left, how he was before he went into this, this thing, and there he's after. I'm saying I think he's had some surgery, don't you think? Yeah, okay. He's got a little more money than the rest of us. So what are you thinking? What do you think about Brian Johnson's quest? Anyone? What's that? Say it out loud. Is there any joy? That's a good question. Is there any joy in this? Because his whole focus, he's regimented. He knows that when he gets up in the morning, exactly what he's going to eat. His meal time, so he gets up at 5. He doesn't exercise. His first meal is a smoothie. He has 3 meals before 11 o'clock, and he doesn't eat again after 11 o'clock a.m. You understand? Between 5 and 11, 5 a.m. and 11 a.m., he eats all of his meals. After that, he doesn't eat a single thing the rest of the day. Okay? He has a very strict sleep regimen. He has a very strict exercise regimen. And the good question, does he have any joy in it? I don't know. But his family is very concerned about him. They think he's a little, maybe delusional. Okay? So, what is health? Health describes the state of being whole and well. Are you healthy? Are you whole and well? When Jesus would heal someone, he would say, would you like to be made what? Whole. That's right. Can you be made whole? Yes. And while healing, on the other hand, describes the action or the process of becoming whole and well again. So the person who is not healthy can become healthy through healing. So here's my question. We talked about this. This is the focus of today. Is Bible prophecy medicine? So I want you to take a moment, not to listen to me, but to listen to your thoughts and to share with someone else. I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer this question. How do you think understanding of Bible prophecy can improve your health? You ready? You can talk to people around you. Make it 2, 3, 6 people. It's up to you. Go ahead. Okay, so I've got a microphone here. Someone put up their hand. How do you think that an understanding of Bible prophecy can improve your health? Anyone? Hand up.
I don't know, I'm coming in the other way. I think your understanding of health will improve your understanding of Bible prophecy.
That's true.
Because with Daniel, it started with a diet.
Yes.
Then the diet cleared up their mind in order to understand exactly what God was trying to make them understand.
Good.
So I think
I like that, but which came first? His health decision or his understanding of Bible prophecy?
I think if we look at the storyline, I think it's health.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone like to challenge that thought? Take that down there, Nelson, and give that to the man over there. There you go.
We just shared this idea that knowing the future,
Yes,
okay, tells us where we are going.
it does.
And to know the one who knows the future, trusting him gives
Yes.
us health.
Very good. So, is understanding Bible prophecy, is it the same as a crystal ball that tells us everything about the future? Yes or no? No. Jesus says, I tell you these things before they happen so that when they do happen, you will believe. So your faith is based on fulfilled prophecy, not unfulfilled prophecy. You're not going to be able to guess from reading the Bible. You're going to see a picture. You're going to see a presentation. But when you look back and you see this lined up, this lined up, this lined up, I see that God knew this beforehand, what does that do for your health? Anyone else? Thoughts? Peace. I like that. Security. Why? There's a lot of uncertainty around, don't you think? A lot of, yes, Aiden.
I think that because Daniel, growing up, learned about God and he had a relationship with God and he knew and trusted in the future that God had. When he was exiled into Babylon, he still followed
Yes.
God's command rather than the other people who believed that God had left them.
Very good.
Because he knew about the Bible and he knew about God's plan,
Very good.
he was able to choose healthy choices.
Tell me some prophets who would have influenced Daniel's thinking.
Moses,
Yes? Another one? Who are kind of
Elijah.
contemporary with him. Isaiah, maybe. And who else? Jeremiah. And who else? What about Ezekiel? Okay. Good stuff. Thank you very much, Aiden. So you're saying, I'm going to guess that what you're saying is that his understanding of God or his acceptance of God and his prophetic word came and motivated his decision to make healthy decisions, which led to a greater understanding of Bible prophecy. I would go along with that. Yes, okay? Anyone else? I think they're all connected. Okay, good. Thank you very much for your input. So, are we living in an uncertain world right now? Is it getting more and more crazy every day? Okay? I think we are in a world that I could not have ever predicted, even though I knew some things about Bible prophecy. The weirdness of it is too weird for me. Would you agree? And it creates a lot of anxiety. People are really looking for answers right now. Seriously looking for answers. So here's what the Bible says. Remember the former things. This is in Isaiah. Sorry, my words got cut off the screen. But this is Isaiah 46, verses 9 and 10. It says, remember the former things, those of long ago. I am who? God, and there is no, not me, but he is God, he says. I am God, and there is none like me. And then he says, I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is still to come. I say, my purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please. So this is more than just a theological statement. God is saying something. He's saying that if you believe me, it's going to have practical benefits for your mind, for your emotions, for your relationships, for your physical health, that will give you stability, that will give you peace, that will give you well-being, that will give you a settled confidence that you don't have right now. So I'm going to share with you something, and that is a book. It was a little book called A History of Epidemiologic Methods and Concepts. And in that book it says, Daniel chapter 1, and this is not a Christian book at all. This is just a science book. It's a medical book of epidemiology, okay? And it says, Daniel chapter 1 is possibly the first clinical trial in all of recorded history. So here's what it says, and I'm quoting from this Evolution of Clinical Research. It says, the world's first clinical trial is recorded in the book of Daniel in the Bible, and when Nebuchadnezzar's experiment ended, the vegetarians appeared better nourished than the meat eaters. So the king permitted the legume lovers to continue their diet. This probably was one of the first times in evolution of human species that an open, uncontrolled human experiment guided a decision about public health. There's a lot of experiments going on about public health right now. And very interestingly, you're finding that they are influencing people. And that definitely influenced people. So Daniel's health. Oh, it's too small for you to read. But you know this verse. It says, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore, he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he would not defile himself. So what was Daniel saying? He was saying, I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to eat this, and if you permit me to do so, you will see that it will change me. Give me 10 days, and you'll see that, there's something different about me. So he chose an Edenic diet. And when he did so, there was a difference. And at the end of this experiment, you know that Daniel chapter 1, verse 20, it says, in all matters of wisdom and understanding about which the king examined them, he found them how much? 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers who were in all his realm. So there is a vital connection between our gut, our stomach, and our brain. Did you know that? So research is telling us that our health of our mind begins in our gut. So there are microbes in your stomach that are the key to your good night's sleep, the key to your happiness, the key to your moods, and it goes along. When you eat a plant-based diet, they know this now, if you eat anything like processed food or you eat fast food, that just destroys those microbes in your stomach. But between your stomach and your brain, there's this superhighway called the vagus nerve. You ever heard of that? And along that, they have a myelin sheath, and that myelin sheath is an insulation that actually is fed by those microbes in your stomach, and they actually refer to your gut as your second brain. You ever hear someone say, I felt it in my gut, right? Or it just, that's, so between your brain and your stomach, there is this connection along the spinal cord that actually is studied by science, and it's called psychobiotics. Huge. What you eat is influencing you. What you drink is influencing you. And it's influencing your mood. So these beneficial gut bacteria can influence the way you think. And this was shown in the book of Daniel in the past, and now science is catching up. So Jesus told us, and some people say, well, you shouldn't believe Daniel because Daniel was written by someone else way afterwards. But then Jesus said we should study Daniel the prophet. So Jesus believed in Daniel. Yes? So if you believe in Jesus, then perhaps you should also believe in Daniel. But here's one thing about the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel was written for the end times. It tells us in Daniel chapter 12, verse 9, that this is for the end times. And in the end times, what does it tell us about the end times? Well, Daniel consists of stories that tell us how to live in the end of time. So Daniel chapter 1 tells us something about the diet that we should be living and having in the end times. And then it tells us so how we should live. And then the prophecies tell us what? When the time of the end has come. So which one do you think is more important? How to live or when the time of the end will come? Both. Do you think they're both important? I think they are both important because they both have to do with your health. You can have certainty when everyone else is losing their heads, right? And you don't have to. You can use your head and not lose it. So is there a healing message in the book of Daniel? Yes or no? Okay, so I'm going to tell you here's why. Here's the key. Daniel understood that his body is a sanctuary or a temple or a house or a home for God's Holy Spirit. He understood that. How do I know that he understood that? Because Paul quotes Ezekiel. And Ezekiel was contemporary with Daniel, and Daniel would have known this. And so here's what he says. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16, it says, for you are the, what does it say? Temple of the living God, the sanctuary for God to live in, as God has said. So Paul is quoting Ezekiel here, and he's quoting Ezekiel 37, verse 27. It says, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So Daniel knew that he was doing this because of his love for God and his love for people. And people loved Daniel. He was a person, I mean, think about this. He came into his enemies, and God gave him a disposition, a very caring, a loving, a jovial, happy, joyful disposition. So that, do you like happy people? Energetic people? That's who Daniel was. And he created a love for, within the hearts of other people. These other nations could see there was something different about Daniel. He was a different person. I want to tell you something. I think that we're living probably in the dumbest generation in the history of the world. Would you agree with that? Come on, I don't want to put anyone down, but this is the truth. I mean, the average attention span of a person these days is, does anyone know? 8.3 seconds. The average attention span of a goldfish is 9. I'm not saying that about you. I'm saying that you're easily 10 times wiser than the average person. You understand what I'm saying? To live at the end of time, when you have the dumbest generation of all time, it's not hard to be 10 times wiser. But we can make those decisions. I'm not trying to put anyone down. I'm just trying to say, let's look at the objective facts here. We are living in a very controlled generation, a generation of people who are like puppets. And if things change like that overnight, people will follow. It's just going to happen because they're so controlled, so easily manipulated. Are you that person? Are you that person? Or are you different? Are you a person who says, I can be like Daniel? And how can you be? Do you have that love for God in your heart? So, how you take care of your body is an act of worship, yes or no? It changes your thinking. It changes everything about you. You are changed right down to the cellular level by what you believe and what you think. This isn't just a little, oh, this is really nice. No, this is who you are. Integrity begins, and it began in the Garden of Eden with food, right? Like, what are you going to choose to do? And who are you going? And it's not about the food. It's about who do you believe? Who do you trust? And can you trust him? Of course you can trust him. And you know that you can trust him. But do you? And when you trust him, he will give you what you need to live healthfully. I love this. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it what? To the glory of God. To live like Jesus. This is really about him. So I'm going to say this. As I close off, I want to ask you this. Why not pause to thank God for all these many gifts that he has given to us? These gifts of health, these gifts of joy, of peace, of his word, of the promises that he's given to us, of the food that we can eat, of the fresh air, the sunshine. Why not seek the blesser and not just the blessings? When we continue to seek the blessings, then we become very solipsistic, so inward, that we don't see beyond ourselves. And we become easily manipulated. So when Jesus healed 10 lepers, how many came back to thank him? Only one. And that one was, Jesus says, only this one, and he was what? A Samaritan. A Samaritan. That means the other 9 were what? Jews. Why didn't the other 9 come back? They weren't thankful? No, they were like, hey, I deserve this. I'm one of the chosen people. No, we don't deserve anything. This is a blessing from God. I want to give you one word, and this is so critical. I think everything is based on this. There's an inverse relationship between pride and gratitude. And the higher the pride level, the lower the gratitude. The higher the gratitude, the lower the pride. And when we have all of our pursuits all about us, feed me, scroll me, whatever, right? We lose our focus. This is gratitude. Gratitude is such a gift that God gives you. And when you express gratitude, it heals you. It's so healing. There's so many benefits to gratitude. Look it up. Go online. Ask ChatGPT. What do I get from experiencing gratitude? It's free. You can do it. So here's the words. Jesus said to him, "Didn't I heal 10? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to," what does he say? "Give glory to God except this foreigner." And Jesus said to the man, "Stand up, go, your faith has healed you." Your faith has healed you. Something happens when we have faith, that it is healing. Healing to your body, healing to your mind, healing to your relationships. So I want to encourage you, this is a challenge for this week. Commit to taking one step. I think it's baby steps. We take baby steps every day. Don't be overwhelmed by what I'm talking about. If you're saying to yourself, "I'm convicted in my heart, I need to change." Take baby steps every day. What do babies do when they start walking? They fall, but get up. Just keep getting up. You know, people say, "Well, I tried that and it didn't work." Well, get up. Get up and keep doing it. It works if you work it. Jesus promised this. He's saying, trust my word. It's the only thing you can invest in and get a guaranteed output. I mean, you're going to get a good investment here. So commit to taking one step this week to improve your physical, emotional health, not as a checklist, but as an act of what? Worship. Begin each day with a Bible promise and each day with gratitude. And most importantly, ask God to help you to understand his end-time message, not with your mind, not out of fear, but out of faith from your heart. But with your heart is in it, so that you see it differently. So if that last message of the Bible is called the revelation of Jesus Christ, look for Jesus there. Don't look for the beasts, right? We get so focused on the beast that we're like, "Whoa!" We're terrified. No, look for Jesus. And you see the message of kindness that he's warning us. And he's telling us, look, I'm here. I've got this. You don't have to worry. So this should come on the screen, but it's not on there. I'm not sure why, but I thought that was changed. But the final prayer, I just want to take a moment to pray there, okay? Take a moment to pray with someone else who's here with you. Maybe someone who is next to you. Maybe you're here by yourself, but turn to someone and take a moment to pray and ask God to bring healing to the areas of your life where you're hurting. Maybe it's physically you're hurting. Maybe there's pain there. Maybe it's an emotional pain. Maybe it's a relationship pain. Maybe it's a spiritual pain. Maybe it's all of the above and even more. Maybe it's financial pain. Whatever you're going through, turn to someone and pray with them. We're here as a body of Christ to pray together and ask the Lord to give you courage to say yes to these small changes that you're asking him to make within you every single day. Maybe changes in your diet, changes in your sleep, maybe changes in your relationships, and changes in the time that you spend with him. Okay? Take a moment to pray.